if we rehearse it and we try to see that which gesture actually would appear in a more synchronized manner with the it would appear in a more synchronized manner with other verbal communication, that would really create a better impact in the field of communication. There is another thing called affect display, where our emotions are displayed through our gesture, through our hand movements. There is another gesture which is known as adapter. When we use a particular object like a pen, we often use pen and we play with it all the time while we speak. And in this manner, or in several manners, there are many creative ways in which you can play with your pen. Sometimes you play with this in this manner, or sometimes you do this, or there are different ways of doing that. So why do we play with that? Why do we have this kind of tendency to play with things? This actually denotes a particular gesture. This is a particular gesture which denotes our state of mind. Probably we are edgy, probably we are nervous, and that's why we want something to hold, and then we try to express unwittingly, completely unknowingly we are doing that. We try to transmit our feelings, our internal thoughts through that particular object, and that object becomes adapter. And that gesture that we do with our hand is known as adapters. So we are using an object to denote our feelings. We can do it unknowingly, but if we are aware of it, we would stop doing that, and that would make a better impact. So that's why we should study non-verbal communication. There are other few types of gesture. One gesture is called enumerative. These are different categorizations done by different experts in this field of non-verbal communication. And enumerative gestures are gestures which denote number. We say there were 5 people. This is enumerative gesture. There was only one person. The first point that I am going to discuss is this. Then the second point, the third point, these are all enumerative gesture that we are doing. We are showing 1, we are showing 2. These are all enumerative gestures. Then the locative gesture. The second one is locative gesture, where we locate something that is there. It is there this way. Or sometimes we introduce people in this manner, that he is my friend, and this is an open palm gesture. This is the most acceptable gesture. If we can introduce someone like this is my friend, or we can do it like this, but this is more acceptable in several societies. And this particular gesture is locative gesture. There the person is, there is the way, that is the person. In that way we locate things. So that is why these are known as locative gestures. The next one is illustrative, and we have already talked about illustrations. So I would just say that illustrative gestures are gestures which support our speech through denoting the shape of something, denoting the size of something. So these are different ways in which gestures are categorized. The next important form of nonverbal communication that gains importance in our discussion is postures. What are postures? Postures are the ways in which we sit or stand. Now, I have an experience in theatre, and there I learned that we should not stand on a stage, and we should not stand on a stage and continuously shift our body balance from one foot to the other. When we are standing on the stage, we should not shift our body balance from one foot to the other. That should not happen. If we are doing that, definitely then we are actually portraying a weak character, a character who is weak in nature, who is tensed in nature. In that way, if we are trying to portray the role of a character who is very, very strong, that shifting of balance should not happen at all. That is very, very important in case of theatre, in case of facing the audience. and we should not show our back. That is also another lesson that we learned when we used to do theatres. Now, postures are primarily the ways in which we stand, the ways in which we sit. Now, drooping shoulders denote the shoulders are drooping like this and you are sitting like this. This denotes that you are reluctant to speak, you are reluctant to listen to people. So that should not happen, especially when you are being judged by someone who is looking at you and judging you. Suppose there is an interview. We cannot sit in that manner. So that we need to understand. So postures are also very, very important in non-verbal communication. Then comes the next thing in kinesics, which is the next element in kinesics, which is known as facial expressions. Now, facial expressions also change a lot. Different facial expressions, facial expression denote different moods in our life, and that's why we use emoticons these days. We love to use them when we are having a conversation in WhatsApp or Facebook, and we use them as vehicles of our emotion. That we are sad, so we'll use a particular emoticon, and that would be having some resemblance with our facial expression when we are sad. So different facial expressions denote different things, and that is very, very self-explanatory, I would say. In proxemics, the next component in non-verbal communication, where we have space. Kinesics was about body movement. Now proxemics is about space. How we use space to communicate. There are lots and lots of ways in which space is used to communicate. And Edward Hall presents a model of communication which is very, very famous in nature, and he distinguishes between intimate space and then social space, and then personal space, and then public space. So public space is between 12 feet to 25 feet, and then less than 12 feet becomes social space, and then less than that becomes personal space, and then less than that becomes intimate space. So roughly this is the model, and it is very, very famous. I'm not going to discuss that, and roughly I just referred to that. So Edward Hall's model of space suggests that we maintain certain distance when we are trying to have certain communication episodes. Suppose we are standing in an elevator and we are having so many people there, and we try to protect our intimate space at that time, and we do this. We close our arms and we try to cover our intimate space. We don't want to encroach, and that is also there, that we don't want to encroach on others' intimate spaces. So that's why we do this, and we become very, very reserved. And Amy Cuddy, there is a very good TED talk by Amy Cuddy where she highlights these things in a great way, and she talks about her social experiments. So we must watch that also, and it would be a great insightful reading of that particular TED talk if we talk about space, and watch that TED talk by Amy Cuddy. Proxemics is also about how we sit. In the first picture, there are 4 situations, and in the first situation we will see that there is a conversation that is going on, and if we are conversing, we usually should sit in that manner. That should be the ideal way of doing that, and that there would be a fruitful conversation if we sit in that manner. If there is cooperation, we would sit in this particular manner, sitting side by side. We can cooperate in that manner. And if we are having an action together, we should sit in the third manner, which is shown here. If we are having competition, we should have a distance. If there are 2 students competing with each other, they should be made to sit in this manner, where the competitive environment would be high, the quotient of competition would be high. Then if we think of classroom arrangements, how we arrange the seats of our students in class, this model is very, very effective in nature. And this particular model says that how we can be creative enough so that we can create a better communicative environment in the class. Usually we make our students sit in the first manner, where every student sits at the back of another student or in the front of another student, while in the second way, where we are trying to make a square, the sitting arrangement is appearing to be like a square with an open end at one point, at one of its points. There the communication environment becomes better. If we maintain this angular shape in the third picture, it becomes even better. And the ideal way of sitting in any classroom would be the fourth way, where everyone should see everyone's face, and that would really create the best communicative environment, where everyone can see everyone's face. So the first arrangement of sitting is known as sociofugal, and the more we proceed towards the second one and then the third one and the fourth one, we are becoming sociopetal in nature. So our goal would be to move from sociofugal to sociopetal arrangement of seats. There is another model shown here, which is again deals with proxemics a lot, and this is about the way in which we sit in our office. And this is one way of sitting, that the picture which is known as A. This particular sitting arrangement actually gives you more power over the person who is going to enter from that particular place. So from this spot, if someone enters and you will be sitting here, you will be able to cater to that person in a better way. And apart from that, if you sit in the B position, the situation would be worse. It would become worse in terms of your power position. And C is the worst case, where you place your back at the door, and that should not happen. Actually, you should see the person who enters your cabin, and there you will be able to manifest more power, and you can dominate the social situation. The next important component of communication, of nonverbal communication, that comes into play is chronomix. And chronomix is about time. We often use time to communicate. Some people leave their bed early, some people leave their bed late, and that is how they perceive time. Our perception of time is very, very subjective. Though we try to objectify it in terms of calendrical time, we still struggle a lot with that, because our perception of time is very, very subjective in nature. And that's why we should be very, very conscious regarding the usage of time, regarding others' usage of time as well. And Chronomix tells us that how we should be using time in a better way. If suppose we are arriving late at a particular place, what are we communicating at that time? We are communicating probably that we are negligent of that meeting. We do not care about that particular person whom we are going to meet. So without using any word, without sending any verbal message, we are actually communicating just by the use of time. So with time we can communicate a lot. By using time in certain ways, we communicate a lot. There are two types of people. Few people are monochronic in nature and few people are polychronic in nature. Some people are monochronic and some people are polychronic. That is to say, some people like to do one work at a time, and they are very, very monochronic in nature. They would finish that work and then they will proceed further. Some people like to do several works together, and they become very, very efficient if there are more number of works, and they are actually polychronic people. And we have to understand, when we enter this entire work field and the field of work or the workforce, we need to understand that what is the demand of the entire office, or what is the demand of the entire organization. So this is very important, this particular segment of monochronic usage of time and polychronic usage of time. There are several other things like haptics, it's about touch, and then other aspects like body size also matters, and then dress matters a lot. Then there is vocalics or voice, that is also a very, very important component of non-verbal communication. And then there are other things called which is also a part of vocalics. Sometimes it is regarded as part of vocalics, and sometimes it is regarded as a separate domain called paralinguistics, where there is pitch, modulation, quality of voice, and this is the way in which it is represented as vapor, voice, articulation, pitch, emphasis, rate. And silence also plays a huge role in communication many a times, and we should not devalue silence, because it is very, very important. Through silence also we communicate a lot. So we often give silent treatment to people to show our dominance. These are variations. If we put emphasis on he, the meaning would change. If we put emphasis on did, the meaning would again change. So he did this. That means that it is none other than he who has done this. And he did this. That means I am trying to emphasize that he ultimately finished the entire thing. And he did this. This expresses that not any other work, but this he has done. There are several other variations that I don't think he has stolen the money. This implies that I do not think, but probably others think that he has stolen the money. I don't think he has stolen the money, but I am very sure of it. Then the next one, I don't think he has stolen the money. Probably someone else has stolen the money. I don't think he has stolen the money. Probably he has borrowed the money. I don't think he has stolen the money, but something else. He has stolen something else. So by changing the pitch, the modulation, the emphasis, we can really condition the meaning. We can change the meaning of the sentence. And we are using the same words. So the verbal communication, the factors of verbal communication, that is words, remain constant, and yet we are changing the non-verbal aspects of it, and we are trying to change the meaning in various ways. Now, how does non-verbal figure in power dynamics? I will just give a few examples that by using space, time, touch, voice, and silence, we can